don't want to be here right now. Crap.
Utah, give me 2.
That was a fun way to start the show. I was trying to get the video to launch first before I said anything, but there we were.
That has to be our new intro every time. I don't know.
Maybe it does, yeah. Hey, maybe I stumbled into something stupid, but hey, welcome to the show, everybody. It's a Palazzo Podcast, Prospects Power Half Hour. Today we're focusing on the next big three. We'll give you the big three, and then we'll give you the next big three for the Red Sox and the Nationals, and there's no better way to do it than with the master himself of the prospect world. He humbly looks at himself as a regular guy, but you guys all know Eric Cross for his prospect work. He does the Fantrax Tool Show with Chris Clegg. It's a blast. Those guys are awesome, and it's one of the best prospect shows in the game. And we just do our little slice here, a little half hour where we are small-timers, so we're happy being who we are. But we know that Eric Cross is going to give us something good today. So welcome in. Happy New Year, Eric. And I hope you're doing okay after the snow. You know, you're a Maine dude, though, so snow ain't no thing.
No, it's really not, and it's been pretty mild here. Like we haven't had more than a few inches at a time. No big, 1.5 feet, 2 feet of snow, and nothing like what Buffalo was getting last month. So no, it's good, man. Thanks for having me on. Been looking forward to this.
Yeah, Ben reached out, made it happen. Obviously, me and Eric are friends. We're the champions of the tag team league. We're going for a repeat this year, I'm sure, and
absolutely.
We love working together doing that, and Eric's just a good friend overall. Forget all that. Last time I saw his face, we were sitting behind home plate of the Arizona Fall League Futures All-Star game on the Sunday after the Baseball HQ's first pitch in Arizona wrapped up. And do you remember a highlight from that game at all that still sticks with you at all, Eric? Just one highlight.
It's funny. I actually tweeted one of them earlier at the end of the game when they ran out of pitchers. I forget which team ran out of pitchers, and Tink Hence came in to face Jordan Walker, both St. Louis Cardinals guys, and Walker almost took him out, took him to the warning track. That was pretty fun. That was a really fun game in general. Really fun week. That's always a great time out there in Arizona.
Yeah, we had a great time doing that. It was a lot of fun. So let's cut the crap, get right into it. You know who Eric is. You know where to follow him. It's real easy. He's on Twitter at EricCross04. Very simple. And, of course, you follow Big Ben, Gentle Ben, my friend Benjamin Chase, and I'm at MJ Govier. Palazzo Podcast,
Utah.
2 L's, 2 Z's.
Give me 2.
As of now. Somebody got pissed. They heard about a change in the format here in terms of a rebrand, and they didn't like, what about the 2 L's, 2 Z's? You can't say that anymore. So I was like, shoot, you're right. That might cost me in terms of losing that. But then again, people are like, what the hell's a Palazzo Podcast? It doesn't make any sense if you're somebody who's never been to the show. So, okay. Either way, let's dive into it. Let's start with the Red Sox here first. We're doing the Red Sox and the Nationals. Eric, let's open it up first with your top 3, and then we'll go to the next big 3. So as it stands today on January 12th, how do you see the Red Sox top 3 prospects right now?
Right now, at the top, it's a battle. I go back and forth between these two. I love them both. I think they're both going to have bright futures. As of this very second, I am Marcelo Mayer, shortstop prospect number 1. He was taken 4th overall last year's draft, 2021. And then Tristan Casas, who actually is just one spot behind him in my overall rankings. First baseman debuted this past year at number 2 in this system. And then Ceddanne Rafaela, mostly outfield prospect, played a little bit of shortstop as well. Really fun, big breakout year this past year. Got up to Double-A. He is my number 3 in the system. So really fun top of the system right now.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, all right. Well, Ben, how do you see that? And then give us your top 3 for the Red Sox.
Those are going to be the same 3 names that I would have. One of those things, for one, Marcelo, he was for a lot of places the number 1 draft prospect in the 2021 draft. So the Sox, I'd have to think, were they the 5th pick, 6th pick? What were they that year?
Fourth pick.
There we go.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were, they ended up having him kind of fall right into their lap. And that was, but they were pretty lucky to have a guy, a lot of folks thought he would be kind of the consensus number 1, or maybe slide to number 2. And he ended up falling all the way down to them, it's been kind of he's been everything that they thought he would be. Defensively, he is going to stick at short. He is a shortstop, and that's, they just lost X. That's got to be something they're going to need. Yep. And it looks like if we want to go into, you want to get into guys like, I'm going to bring up a Brave here in just a little bit. So I'm going to use their system here, but they moved guys pretty quick here this last year. Meyer is a guy who you could see him, you could see him move quickly because of that advanced defense. I think his defense is good enough. He could move up and take that shortstop position. I don't know if you'll see him there this year at all. I don't think that that's a consideration, but is 2024 absolutely could be in play. And that's for a high school draftee to make a play for, what we're talking, it'd be his third, or after 2 full years, to be really looking at pushing for the starting job. That's a pretty quick ascension into the major leagues. So that tells you just where he is as a prospect. But the guy I really like, and Costas, big power, first baseman. He's actually not a nothing with the glove either. He can handle first base with the glove. But the guy I really like, Rafaela, I compare him very, very favorably to Michael Harris of the Braves. There's a lot of similarity in their games offensively, and Rafaela could just go get it in the outfield. I like the two of them defensively very comparably. There's a lot of similarity between the two, and some of the similarities are in their offensive profiles in a bad way too. Whereas Rafael is not the most patient guy in the world, and neither is Harris. But at the same time, they both have a lot of pop in their stick. They both have a lot of natural speed, and they're just really good natural athletes. Harris was originally a two-way player. Rafael can handle shortstop, but man, there are some instincts in center you just can't teach. And that Curacao line is just something else to watch on the field. You watch a player coming out of there, and it's just astounding. That island is about as many people as the state of South Dakota, and yet we're talking about just they could put up a team that just that little island. They play as the Netherlands, but that Netherlands team is basically that island when they play in the WBC, and they're competitive. It's impressive. So
yeah, and I was able to see that defense that you mentioned with Rafaela firsthand, and he got up here to Double-A middle of the season, so I saw him probably 8, 9, 10 times, something like that, in the last couple months of the season. And yeah, he was very, very impressive. All the tools were on display. And yeah, he is a bit aggressive. There's a little too much chase out of the zone, which needs to be corrected. As you mentioned, similarity to Michael Harris there. Very much agree with that. But at the same time, he puts the bat in the ball. There's some good contact skills here. I think his pull side pop will fit Fenway very well. I think you'll see him put a lot of balls off the monster. I think he could probably approach 20 home runs over a full season if he kind of plays the ballpark right. And yeah, the speed is there as well. So I'm very excited about him. He was a real joy to watch this past year. And Cassis was here the year before that in Double-A, and then I'll hopefully get to see Mayer later this year. So it's been a fun couple of years. But yeah, I love all three of them. Very, very high on all three.
Yep.
Yay! All right. Well, that's the top 3 from each fella. Let's go back to Ben first, and then we'll give it to Eric. Ben, give us your next top 3 for the Red Sox. This is what everyone's been waiting for. They've been waiting for this show for weeks.
So now, if you want to get to exciting guys, Miguel Bleas, that was an exciting guy to watch this year. And boy, tools, that's one of the more impressive tool sets in the entire minor leagues to watch this last year. Outfielder with the Red Sox system. Other guy I have mentioned, Nick York, who had kind of a redemption season this year after really having a rough 2021. He had kind of a redemption season. Maybe looks on track to be a second baseman again going forward for the team. And then Brian Matta, who he is coming off of Tommy John surgery. I really have always liked the sinker slider. And he has a very distinctly different four seam that he can run up to 101, 102. And boy, that's a heck of a mix. And yeah, his changeup isn't great, but it's just enough different that could give you a potential guy as a starter. But just that pitch mix as a reliever is really fun. And I liked watching him come back this year. He looked like he had his raw stuff back, which when his raw stuff was going at its best, he was one of my favorite guys to watch pitch, just because it's impressive raw stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. As Mata he's going to have value some way. I do think it's more in a bullpen capacity, but at the same time, this is a guy that could pitch high leverage innings, whether he's a closer or not, who knows? But a guy that's pitching, seventh, eighth inning, maybe even the ninth inning. We'll see how that shakes out. But yeah, definitely a very lively arm. It was good to see him get back into the swing of things this year after missing time with that injury, like you mentioned. So yeah, very, very excited to see what the next year or so holds for Bryan Mata.
Ooh, all right, Eric, you heard Ben's 3. It feels like maybe you alluded to a possible disagreement there. Let's hear your next big 3 for the Boston Red Sox farm system.
Yeah, real quick, though, I saw a comment about Brendan Walter that you put up there. Walter's so underrated. He's not in my next 3, but that guy's just going to be a back-end type – yeah, right there. A back-end type starter for a while. I saw him, I think, probably 3 or 4 starts early in the year before he went up to AAA. And, low 90s fastball, but cuts it, sinks it, commands it very well. Has like a Chris Sale-esque slider, not quite as good as Sale's, but, that lower arm slot, kind of the sweepy upper 70s slider like Sale has. And then he's got a pretty solid changeup as well. So don't sleep on Brendan Walter. I still don't know where he fits in, but he's a very underrated arm as well. But my next 3, Miguel Blaze, like he's my number 4, and I think he could be just as good or maybe even better than Rafael. That's how excited I am for him. Yeah. Won't be able to see him quite this year. Probably won't be up to my neck of the woods until next year. But everyone I've talked to throughout this org, people that I do know that have seen him, they're so excited for him, and just like the raw tools. He was one of the best players down in the rookie ball level. So Blaze is my number 4, and he's within my top 100 overall. And I do have Nick York at 5. Still kind of trying to figure out what Nick York is going to be in terms of like what does the offensive profile look like? How much power and speed is there? I do think the hit tool is going to be pretty solid. I think he's going to be 275, 280 type of hitter. Get on base at a decent clip as well. Maybe guy that hits maybe second in the order. He kind of has that feel to him when you watch him play. And the guy that maybe hits 15, 16 home runs and 8, 9 steals, which doesn't sound super sexy, but hey, that'll play. I think the hit tool is going to keep carrying him. And I think he's have a nice year next year as well. He had some injuries this year, a little bit of illnesses. So I think he's have a nice year next year. And then
so here comes the disagreement then, right?
So my next one, I like Mata a lot. My third one here is Blaze Jordan. So there are some concerns with high velocity up in the zone with him. My buddy Chris Clegg from Toolshed Podcast saw him down there in Greenville, South Carolina, mentioned that as well. And so that will have to be fixed. But, the approach has improved. Walk rate's ticking up, K rate's ticking down. We know the raw power is there. Like he was on the, one of those hit 500-foot home runs as a 16-year-old, one of those types of guys that was on the scene very early in terms of the prospect scene. So power's there, and looks like the overall hit tool is improving. If he can figure out, that issue against, the high velocity fastballs, I think he can be a pretty solid hitter, probably more of a first base type. So we'll see how that kind of works out with, obviously Devers is locked in now, thankfully. And, Cassis at first base. Maybe Jordan does some DH. Still got a couple years. He's not going to be out for probably till 2024 at the earliest. But that's my next 3: Miguel Blaze, Nick York, and Blaze Jordan.
And with York, one of the guys, from up in my neck of the woods growing up that I watched a lot, that York reminds me a lot of, is Todd Walker.
Ooh, I like that. I like that.
I mean, just the type of player he could be, and not a 300 guy, but probably just the next tier under, and not going to hit you 20, but probably the next tier under, and probably going to find some gaps. That type of a player. And
sounds like a streamer to me, though. I mean, unfortunately, maybe. I mean, a guy who'll pick up, you might draft depending on the size of your league.
Yeah. Jordan, the one thing with Jordan that's been interesting is he for all the power he hasn't really been a guy that's put up a ton of swing and miss. That has really impressed me with his profile. That's,
Agreed.
There was some concern about that in showcases when he was in high school, and thought that, he can sure swing it. He can sure hit the ball a long ways when he does, but what happens when he doesn't? And so he has actually held that to some level of check. It hasn't been a 35% strikeout rate. You're striking out a quarter of your at bats. A lot of guys do. Anymore, that's the game. A lot of guys strike out 25%. That's not half bad for a power hitter. So, well, you take that out of a guy, so.
Wow, that's shocking information here today's day and age with the world of baseball. But hey, we're going to lock in those top three in the next big three. Here it is. Locked in. Booyah. I got to tell you, this is a lot of fun having Eric Cross here. I popped in the Discord link for the Fantrax Toolshed. It's in the live chat, so join the Fantrax Toolshed's Discord. It looks like fun to me. I just joined it today. Where have I been? What have I been doing? What's wrong with me? But I'm there now, Eric. That's all that matters. I have a question I want to ask. It's all that matters. I have a question I want to ask you about process. I'm going to save it for the end because we're making pretty good time here. We just did the Red Sox. We got the top three in the next big three. And now we're going to do the Nats, the Natties, the Washington Nationals. Oh, by the way here, how about this comment? Brandon Walter is everything I wanted Henry Owens to be.
Don't bring up Henry Owens. I remember seeing Henry Owens when he was in Double-A, and it was really like within the first couple of innings, I'm like, yeah, this guy's not going to work out. Like that was a wasted. I think that was top 10. I think we got him like 7th or 8th overall that year. And I think if I recall, I don't want to look back because I'll probably get irritated. I think that was a pretty loaded class that we ended up passing on a lot of guys that have become all-stars at this point. So yeah, let's brings up some old wounds as a Red Sox fan.
Yeah, he was a competitive balance. He was at the end of the round there, right? Or third round. He was a third-round pick. No, he's a third-round pick. I'm a moron.
He's a third-round pick? Oh, okay. I thought he went higher than
Unless
that.
I got the wrong Henry Owens. I got the right Henry Owens, yeah.
Yeah,
but he
had
was
great hair, though. Great hair. He had that going for him. Great hair.
He was always a guy that
was
rated much higher than what he should have been. Guys,
yes. Oh.
Yeah.
Poor Henry Owens. Let's all that was a moment of silence for Henry Owens. There you go. Okay, let's get in the Nats here. The Washington Nationals. Eric, you lead us off once again. Give us your top three current prospects as you see them. We'll see if it includes guys who still have rookie status or not, like a Tristan Casas. Give it to us.
Yeah, so when Ben asked me what National League East team I wanted to cover, if you'd asked me this like last year before, I never in a million years would have said the Nats. Like this org was terrible last year, but trading away Juan Soto and getting a King's ransom and a couple other trades they've made definitely restocked the system in a hurry, and they've done pretty well drafting and on the international side of things as well. But my top three, and all three of these guys are within my top 40 overall. 2 are within my top 20, 1 within my top 10. I got number 1, James Wood. The guy looks like he could play, outside linebacker in the NFL, power forward in the NBA. I think he's listed at like 6'7", 240 or something like that. And he's very strong, very athletic, got some quickness to him as well. Had a great year in the lower minors in single A this past year that really put him from a guy that was exciting with potential to a guy like, all right, this guy has emerged as one of the best prospects in the game from a fantasy perspective. So I think he's a guy that's going to hit for average, solid OBP as well, gets on base at a good clip, all the power in the world that's starting to translate more and more into games. And I think he can bring a little bit of speed to the mix as well. Maybe be a guy that's like 8 to 10 steals a year or something like that. So James Woods 1. Elijah Green 2. He was their first round draft pick in the top 5. I think it was 3rd overall, I want to say, or 4th overall. I can't remember. This past June, when you talk to evaluators that had seen Elijah Green in the spring circuit, they said he had some of the best and loudest tools like anyone's ever seen. And these are some scouts that have been around the block a time or two in this industry. So you talk about like huge raw power, huge speed, defensively and out in the outfield. The one kind of red flag, the one concern is where does the hit tool wind up? There's a little too much aggression, too much swing and miss. But hey, he's 19 years old. If he can just get to an average hit tool or close to it, like if everything clicks, this is an early round fantasy guy, like potential first round. Everything clicks, he meets his true ceiling. This is a potential first, second round fantasy guy with the power speed he has. And then 3, Robert Hassel III came over along with James Wood from San Diego in that Juan Soto deal. And a little bit of a down year, especially in the second half of the year. Once he got over to the Nats, just wasn't really the same. But he had a hand injury that kind of hampered him as well. So I think there is a solid hit tool there. Hit 270, 280, somewhere in that range. 12, 15 home runs, maybe a little bit more if he starts driving the ball in the air more consistently. And he's a plus runner as well. So a guy could be 20, 25 steals. So a guy I think if you're playing dynasty leagues, I think he's a pretty solid buy low. So that's my top 3: Jim Wood, Elijah Green, Robert Hassel III.
Ben?
I've got all 3 are my top 3. The one,
Hey!
The guy that I was flipping back and forth on whether I was, and not because I didn't think he was worthy of being their top 3. Here's the thing. The Nationals could make a very good argument that they have 4 or 5 guys that you could argue into this top 3 and not feel like you're actually leaving somebody out. And you can make an argument that their who's next could be one of these guys too, and push one of them there. But the guy, James Wood, is a guy that, we've had this conversation. When you get up to that size, to that 6'7", the long limbs, the things, and you put up his Fangraphs page earlier. Before this year, it was a 30% strikeout rate, 30-35% strikeout rate, and that's what you kind of have the two ends of that. You don't tend to have a middle. You have a guy who can either beat the snot out of the ball, and basically you have an Aaron Judge, or you have a guy that gets to the majors and doesn't make it in the majors. And, we've talked about all the guys who are 6'8" and can't quite make it in the majors. Sometimes there's a Richie Sexson that kind of can do it, but most of the time, those kind of guys that get there they aren't in the middle. They aren't able to, you don't have that prospect that, well, he can play outfield. He can, he's a 20 home run, 250 guy that, he still strikes out 30% of the time, but he you don't have a Joey Gallo profile exactly that is 6'7", because those guys they end up striking out 40% of the time and can't make enough contact to really get that type of a profile. It just, for some reason, that frame kind of leans into that way. So there's that risk that has been there with Wood. He took a huge step forward in timing up his body this year. Now, I want to see it going forward. So I still have that, and I'll absolutely 100% admit that it's a personal bias there that, and it's the same thing. All pitchers, I am the same way. I got to make sure I see it more than 1 year that a guy can repeat that delivery when he's 6'6" or better. But when a tall hitter shows me that he can put everything together and strike out at a low rate, I'll believe it, because, hey, I'll admit I was one of the guys that was slow on Aaron Judge because he didn't look great for his first couple of years in the minors. And then when he put it together, he really put it together. And obviously we saw what he can do when he really puts it together in the major leagues. But he's also had years in the majors where he struck out, 180, 200 times. So when it's not there, it can be really tough. And so Wood has that kind of a profile. I love what you said. You kind of hit spot on for Hassel for me right now, Eric, because to me, that's a buy low profile. The guy came out of high school with one of, to me, the best hit tools in that class, and has always just been able to put bat to ball. And when he got to Double-A, and whether it was the new org plus, he got bumped up a level to Double-A, plus, all these different things as a 20, 21-year-old kid, all this different change in your life all at the same time, and he struggled. Okay. And he still didn't fall flat on his face. He just didn't hit at the level that he had before in his career.
Right.
So all of a sudden, everyone's jumping away from him. I'm kind of going, well, if you don't like Mr. Hassel right now, I think I might have a spot at the back of my fantasy team for him. So, that's kind of where I'm at as a dynasty owner. If I'm shopping around this year and I see a guy that I'm looking to make a deal with has Robert Hassel on his team, I might say, hey, by the way, let's see if I can toss in a player and potentially get that guy's Robert Hassel onto my team, because you never know where his opinion is right now. So
yeah, and with Hassel too, Chris Clegg and I were lucky enough to interview him last off season, and this kid, he has his head on straight. Like he had a very particular like plan in place, like what he wanted to improve to unlock more power and this and that. Like very, very smart person, as very nice guy as well. So yeah, he's a guy I'm just personally rooting for, but he's a guy that I'm gonna bank on, because I said the baseball IQ is very high with him. So I'm definitely rooting for him, and I think he's gonna do well.
Yeah, okay, that's a lot of fun. Well, we got Benz, and we got MJ Govier is making me rich. I don't know if I'm making you rich. I've had some nice plays in my betting world. By the way, Eric's my new pal at FTN here. Shout out to that. So me and Eric work together again, which is great news. We just rolled out a draft guide. I can't believe I didn't bring that up. I should have brought that up earlier. I'm an idiot. It's available, ftnfantasy.com. Sign up now. Promo code MJ Govier, not Cross. Use mine, not him. Screw that guy. Chad says, the Nats are such a fun mix. I deviate a lot from guys like Eric with them, since my top three has both Vaquero and House over Green and Wood. Eric?
Those are two fun guys. They very well might be in my next three.
Bye! That's where we're going. Anthony says, I have Christian Vaquero from the Nats on my minor league team. People tell me he's good. I don't know. Should I be excited? Yeah, you're going to find out momentarily how excited you might need to be. Anthony, he's the most boom international signing from that super high class risk. We're going to hear. All right, we're taking all away your thunder here. By the way, trust an MJ Govier alarm clock's not included. I don't know what the hell that means at all. Chad says Wood could pull off being a judge-sized Gallo. Woo! Then we got a newcomer here, whoever this is, YTNYM. Hello, Mets fan possibly. What do you guys think of Cade Cavalli? He's not going to be on this list. Super quick. We've covered Cavalli in our own discussions. When we worked together this past season, Eric, there was a discussion about picking him up as a free agent in our Fab League for the Tag Team Championship that we won, which I have to mention all the time. But I remember you not being as excited. I think I was more interested than you were, correct?
I like the stuff. Like the stuff is good. He can get the fastball, slider, changeup mix. It's good. I just seen a lot of inconsistencies with his command. Strike throwing ability, walks a little too many. I think he's gonna be one of those guys where for fantasy he'll be fun. He'll get you the Ks, but maybe kind of like almost like a right-handed Robbie Ray. I'm not sure if he'll be that good, but how Ray is like, oh, you get the strikeouts, but maybe the ERA and WHIP aren't really the greatest, are a little bit higher than you'd probably want. I think that's gonna be the type of guy that he is. A little bit higher ratios, but pretty solid Ks.
Okay, hell yeah.
You kind of want a good defense behind him. He's actually jump
sure.
into our three to look at. He was kind of in my group for that.
Yep.
I had Cavalli, and somebody mentioned House, and my other one's Jeremy De La Rosa, who he goes back a couple of league of international groups for the Nats, but he's a sexy international guy that finally got his first full league year and really balled out this year. He was fun to watch in that first full year. But with Cavalli, I don't know what they're going to have for defense behind him. And that's what scares me with him, because I've watched him in the minor leagues. If he's not mowing guys down with strikeouts, it's not going to be good. He really relies on his defense, and you got to have good defense behind him. And he's had really bad times without good defense behind him. So he gets to the point where if he's not mowing the guys down, he starts to aim, and then things just get hit pretty dang hard. So
he kind of reminds me of Josiah Gray in that regard, where got the good stuff, but can I think a lot of that similarities. And I still like Gray a little bit too, not to get off subject, but I think there's like a wide range of outcomes for Cavalli for sure.
Oh, there it is. Wide range of outcomes. That if you are a professional baseball analyst, you got to be able to say that. I got to say that more. I got to get that in my lexicon. All right, let's get to your next big three for the Nats. Let's go to Eric here now. Eric, This is your time to shine. We didn't mean to steal your thunder with Vaquero, but let's hear it.
Yeah, so my next three are Brady House, Christian Vaquero, and Cade Cavalli. And we already talked about Cavalli, so I'll kind of gloss over him here. But Vaquero is one where he was, I think, easily the best player in that international class from last year. The frame, you love the frame, big, strong, athletic, and showed good raw power. It's just, we just don't know with these guys coming over from like Dominican Republic, Cuba, Venezuela, Curacao, wherever it may be. So all we really get are, some reports from people that have been down there, but you get these backfield, videos of them taking batting practice. There's no, high school games to watch and stuff like that. So it's really hard. That's why you see a lot of these guys that were signed for, 25,000 pop up, and guys that were signed for $2.5 million fall off. Like we saw with the Jason Dominguez class, both the next two guys, Eric Pena and Robert Poisson, both are kind of not even thought of anymore. So I still believe in Vaquero. You look at the tools that Govier just put on the screen there from Fangraphs. Game power, raw power, speed. Where's the hit tool at? That's the question for every young player. He's only 18 years old, so I think I'm gonna give him another year. It's way too early to hop off, even if he didn't have the best performance this past year. And same with Brady House. He's another guy who was one of the better prep bats in his draft class, and didn't set the world on fire this past year, but there's the powers there. Like I said, a potential 30 homer bat, decent feel for hit, a little bit of speed as well. Could be like a 260, 25 plus, 5 to 10 steal guy. So another guy that is one of my favorite buy lows right now, because the talent is too high to completely just kind of be like, no, I'm done with House. It's way too early for that to happen. So he's definitely one of my favorite buy lows right now.
Ben, there it is. You got it. Vaquero, House, and Cavalli. What do you got?
Well, Cavalli and House are both on mine, and then Jeremy De La Rosa, who I mentioned, he was in the previous their previous outfielder with a whole lot of flash in an international signing, and he got to A-ball this last year and showed power, showed speed, had some issues with his plate discipline, but he did a lot of the things that you really wanted to see and kind of flashed all those tools, but also showed why he's still a young guy that needs some time to develop. And, not every guy is Juan Soto. Not every guy comes up and is, Ronald Acuna or Juan Soto that comes up at 19, 20 years old and is immediately ready to come to the big leagues and have a 400 or 350 even on base percentage. A lot of times it takes time to build up that discernment in the minors. A lot of times it takes time to get used to, okay, so this is when I run, I get to first base. This is he was in A-ball. A-ball had a lot of rules that allowed for more running. He also got caught quite a bit on the base paths. He had some really bad base running decisions going first to third. That type of stuff that you watch and you're like, yeah, that's still a really raw player. But geez, the talent just jumps off the page when you watch him play. And
for sure,
it's still fun. It's that type of a player that you watch and you're going, okay, yeah, you can still dream a lot on this guy. So, hey, guys, I looked this up just because we mentioned him. Henry Owens is still playing independent ball.
Hey! All right. The dream is alive.
He pitched to a 7.33 ERA in the Atlantic League last year in 46 innings.
Damn! So nothing's changed is what you're saying?
With almost as many walks as strikeouts.
Yeah. There's the issue. Hey, can I throw one more name in just really quick? Jarlin Susanna is another name. Yep. Like also came over in that Juan Soto deal. Like the arm is electric. If he's able to, he struck out a ton of batters, one of the highest K rates in the minor leagues. If he's able to really hone in the command, this is a guy that could make that Tink Hence, Ricky Tiedemann type of jump. He's already, trending up, but there's another big name. I just had to at least mention him. I think it would have been a travesty not to mention his name at least once here. So another guy, just go out and get him because the arrow is pointing up with him.
And 102, 103 mile an hour fastball or something like that, depending on who you believe. Yeah, just and it's not a straight fastball. It's a wicked looking one of those that Pitching Ninja is going to love putting on his page.
He probably already has.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He gets them while they're young. That's Pitching Ninja's thing there. You got to get them early because their stuff is so electric that they actually hone it in and it becomes maybe slightly electric. It just becomes a little bit more crafted. And right now, he is such a wild card, a wild thing, a badass with all the potential in the world, oozing electricity with every pitch he throws. Good call, Eric. I'm really glad you brought up Susanna. Oh, Susanna. I will not cry for him because I know he's going to do well. He's going to make it big. That's the best Susanna reference I have right there. A couple more comments here. YTNYM says, thanks. I traded Cavalli, but I might have an opportunity to pick him back up. I will if he can work on that control. Mm-hmm. You heard what the guy said.
That's the X factor with him.
Yeah, I wouldn't go big. I just wouldn't. First off, pitching, it's a philosophy of dynasty playing. I'd rather go big on hitters than I would on pitchers anyways.
That's fair,
I think that a lot of people think that way now. It's not really a radical strategy by any means. And Chad says, I was really hoping we would be able to talk about Andry Lara for this, but the early sample was rough enough to delay the hype around him for a year. Eric, Andry Lara.
Yeah, no, he's definitely one that the last couple of years has always been like, all right, waiting for him to break out, and it just hasn't happened yet. But as Ben kind of alluded to, something I've said a lot is prospect growth is not linear. Sometimes not everybody can come up and dominate and debut at 20. Sometimes these guys, they don't debut till 24. So if you play like in a deeper dynasty league, maybe the probably 500 plus prospects rostered overall, he's one of those guys back into the your prospect roster to churn and burn, try to find guys that break out. If not, you move on to the next guy. He's got the upside. He's got the frame, 6'4", still pretty lean, and definitely has some fun stuff. If he can really start kind of becoming more of a pitcher instead of a thrower, he's a guy that could rise up. So we'll see.
Rise. Hell yeah. Ben, quickly.
Yeah, you said it exactly right on. I mean, the stuff is still electric. He's striking out more than a batter an inning. That's just and really got his first taste of full season ball this year. So that's, he was a guy who was signed, 2019?
I think it was 2019. And then usually these guys don't debut that same year, and then he missed all of 2020. So it was really a weird kind of time frame for those guys.
Some of those guys, the goofy thing is now I think either was he this offseason or maybe next offseason already, he's going to end up being Rule 5 eligible. Because of the way that these stupid things worked, because of, with losing that minor league season and with COVID and all that stuff, these guys are going to end up, he's probably not going to see AA next year, and yet he's going to be Rule 5 eligible. And that's the way, because of all that. Yeah. There you
Harris,
go. Your Tigers could throw him into the bullpen, huh?
At least Scott Harris doesn't just sit out his duff like Al Avila. Alex Avila was a solid catcher. Anthony says, will Eric Cross release first-year player draft rankings in the FTN draft guide?
I don't know. We haven't talked about it, but hey, I'm game for whatever. So if you want some, put the get the Polka Vlad Sedler. See what he thinks.
Poke the roto god. Poke that gut and see if
there you go.
See what he can get out of Eric. Eric has his whole, by the way, the Fantrax tool shed and all the work at Fantrax still exists very, very much. And that's where Eric, that's his home base there. We love having him at FTN too, but he's got so much to offer the world that he works at multiple places. So make sure you go to Fantrax and check out the rankings, and they're constantly updated. And also the Patreon, there's a bonus material, and that all goes through the Fantrax tool shed. There's money to be made because these guys worth it. He puts in the time. Every team gets covered between him and Clegg. These guys are badasses. And I know from personal experience that they're good human beings. So if you want your people that offer you the info to also be decent human beings, you got it. You get it from these guys.
Appreciate
they're all right,
that, man. Right back at you.
Tim Michael. Tim, good to see you, my friend. I love Tim. Tim's one of the Palazzo originals. Cole Henry still a guy to keep an eye on? Oh, God. Come on. Really?
100%. I'm glad somebody brought Cole Henry up. I've liked him for a while. I think there's more. I think he's a better pitcher than Cade Cavalli. I think this pure, stuff and control, command, like everything put together. If I had to pick, if everyone was healthy, obviously that's a big thing with Cole Henry. He can't stay on the field, but if you can guarantee me 100% health for both these guys, I'd probably lean. It's close, very close, but I'd probably lean Cole Henry. So another one where great buy low right now because he just hasn't have the innings. But if he can get back on the mound here in 2023 and start getting some momentum, getting his feet underneath him again, there's a lot of good stuff there.
Yeah, Eric Cross doesn't know Boston very well at all. That's true. I'll give you 2, Matthew. There you
Utah.
go. That's for you, buddy.
Give me 2.
Good to see Matthew. Matthew came aboard last year. We started doing the Prospect Show. He's a regular as well. Good to see you, brother.
But Henry's right along with Jackson Rutledge. I mean, Rutledge has kind of finally gotten himself back into play again.
Took him a while.
I mean, but same thing. If those guys, there we go. There's just Jackson Rutledge comment.
I'm
impressed with him.
I'm there with you, Chad. I'm there with you. I like Jackson Rutledge. Good.
You
loud stuff.
I wasn't impressed with them at AFL 2021.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, there's still a lot to work on, but he did look a bit better this year.
Okay.
Maybe he's more of a bullpen arm. We'll see, but it was loud stuff. There's a reason why he was, kind of as highly thought of after the draft as he was back a couple years ago.
Well, he falls under that category that Ben was talking about with taller dudes, especially pitchers.
I think he's like 6'5", 6'6", something like that. He's pretty tall guy.
Yeah, he was the prototypical that Ben brought up a while ago. Last one. Okay, we got to wrap the show up. We're already over it as it is. Israel Pineda, still a guy on the Nats? Serious question, please and thank you. Anybody on Israel Pineda?
Maybe he's a backup catcher. That's kind of what I think. Even though he didn't have the greatest year, I think Keibert Ruiz is their catcher of the future. I think he's gonna be a solid all around player. Yeah, and maybe Pineda's a backup, but I don't really see a lot of value there, especially for fantasy purposes.
Lightning round. TJ White, swing and miss power bet.
Yeah, no, TJ White's one that I've had a hard time ranking. So it was like I look at him, I'm like, all right, I gotta move him up, and then I'll look at him again like a month later. I'm like, I gotta move him down. So yeah, the power's there. It's potentially could be a guy that we look at in fantasy, but the floor is also, as is for almost every prospect, but especially with these guys, he's a guy that could also just not make it as well. But yeah, so I think this would be a kind of fun year to see, like, what is TJ White? Is he gonna be a major leaguer, or is he gonna fizzle out?
And Rutledge is 6'8".
6'8".
Yeah.
I was underselling.
Big dude.
Yeah.
All right. Well, look, there's so much to do, but we're going to end it here. We try to keep the show succinct. We want to give Eric Cross all of the credit in the world. My quick process question for you, Eric, as we close the show was, you work in the Northeast, right? You get a lot of everybody who gets to come through Portland, right? Or the AA part of that realm. I mean, you can't see everybody all over the country because you're not a traveling scout. Now, that's not to minimize you at all. My only question is to you is, how do you see the gap between what you get to see in real life versus what you only get to see on tape? Is there a way to make up for that? For other people who are interested in this stuff too, it's totally a curiosity I have. And I don't even know if there's a good answer. I'm just curious how you look at it.
Yeah, I think the biggest advantage of live looks, and like I said, it's only AA here in Portland, Maine, and then what I get to see out in the Arizona Fall League every November. But it's one of the advantages of the live looks that you can't get. And I watch a lot of minor league games on TV as well, or even online just to get more video looks. But when you're at the park, obviously when you're watching it on TV or online, you get that one camera angle, right? Usually center field, a little bit off centered like that. So you get the one camera angle. When you're in the ballpark, especially when I'm watching, a pitcher, I'll be behind home plate for a little bit to see the, movement on the pitches. I'll go over to, whatever side to get open face looks at his mechanics and something you can't see. And same with hitters too. I'll move around, with hitters to, the open face look, whether it's lefty or righties, to see, the hand motion, so all these mechanical things that you can't see just from the one camera angle you get. And, watching video is great. And I'm not one of those guys that's like, oh, you have to get to the ballpark. I think it could be beneficial, but some people don't live near a minor league ballpark. If I didn't have Portland, the next one closest to me is like 2.5 hours away in, middle of Connecticut. So, it's definitely fun if you can get to the minor league park. It's just a good atmosphere, always a good family atmosphere as well. Most of these parks do it right. But yeah, that's kind of the advantage. And I try to get to as many games as I can. Drag the kids along for a few of them. They're starting to get into baseball, which is really fun to kind of share my passion with my daughter and my son. So it's a lot of fun. Yep.
Yeah. I think, Ben, you would echo a lot of that.
Yeah. And I mean, out here in South Dakota, our closest even minor league team would be Omaha. And that's, about a 6-hour drive. So
right, exactly. Yeah.
So, I mean, for me, the thing I mean, my own personal website is Video Baseball Scout. So, I mean, I spent most of my time doing a lot of video stuff. But a lot of the stuff I've learned over the years is you very intentionally find out what parks have what angles. And so then you can watch a picture and you know that, okay, if I want to do a look at a certain pitcher, I get a look at him from this park and from this park and from this park, and I know I'm going to get these angles on that pitcher.
Yep.
Or if I want to see somebody playing defense, I'm going to go in the game log and I'm going to find out when they actually made some plays. And if I got to know what parks have what angles for their cameras, because certain parks, you're not going to see what steps the guy took in order to make that play. You're just going to see that he caught the ball and the throw over. But in other parks that have, let's say, a center field camera, you're going to be able to watch a certain thing. Other parks that have a home plate camera, you're going to be able to watch certain, it just depends on where the camera is. You can see different angles. And if you know that about different parks, you get that stuff. It takes more time. It takes more work as far as the video stuff, but it's the same thing. I've had some good discussions with folks back and forth around the game regarding, hey, when you're getting the one look in person, do you go back for a second look? And so we've had back and forth on that, that when I'm doing a write-up on someone, I'm usually looking at 6, 7 or more games before I do a write-up on somebody. And, I'm not putting together a write-up based on just one game because I don't feel like I've seen enough.
Unless you qualified it. Like if you did that, you would qualify, okay, this is a singular look, right, Eric?
Yeah.
You would.
Yeah, sometimes it's all, usually the minor league, they, structured the games now ever since COVID is a lot of times there's, teams are in town for 6 games. And sometimes, especially with the pitchers, sometimes with the hitters, like when Binghamton, the Mets AA was here, I got, a lot of looks at Brett Beatty, Ronnie Mauricio, etc. And then, sometimes with a pitcher, usually it's only, you get one look. So, I think it definitely varies. But yeah, I try not to go off, I try not to let one live look change my opinion on a prospect too much one way or the other. But maybe it's like, all right, I saw this. Let me go look at video to see if it, then you dig in further from that. That's just I'm like, maybe, this could be an issue, or that's pretty cool. Let me go look into that further. That's kind of what it is for me, at least.
Beautiful. God, this is great stuff. Thank you so much for indulging us, Eric. There's so many different things that we get on top of, besides just player analysis and ranking the farm systems and yada, 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 who's the next big thing. We're always talking about the prospect industrial complex, a lot of groupthink, and it gets set up by the major media outlets, and it's our job, and I think you do a really good job of it. I mean, you define your own terms. You always have, and I think that's really why people are so drawn to Eric Ross, is because he does that for so many different teams in all his work. He doesn't just say, I read something from Prospects Live or some shit, like he makes his own way. He always has. And I think that comes out in droves, and people come out in droves to appreciate your work, Eric. So thank you so much for this. Ben, you put it all together, so thank you, Ben, for doing what you do. Follow Eric on Twitter, EricCross04, Big Gentle Ben on Twitter. I'm at MJ Govier. And, of course, Palazzo Podcast, 2 L's.
Utah.
2 Z's.
Give me 2.
We're still doing it. 2023, Rock and Roll McDonald's. Eric, any final thoughts you want to mention to us that we're not aware of about you, your life, prospects, religion, politics? You want to go down that road for the next hour?
No, let's not do that. But yeah, one thing I want to mention really quick that you just said, when it comes to really anything, even especially in the prospect world where there's so many talented people, talented sites, that just be your own, put out there what you want to put out there, be your own person, and just, maybe you're not going to be always right. That's just the nature of this game, especially with the prospect world. It's so much up and down, but if you want to rank someone high that you think people might not like it, do it, and just, have a reason why. That's how I always have a reason why, whether people agree with it or not, that's fine. I don't care. I'm not here to agree with everybody, but I'm here to give what I think is the best analysis I can. And I have a reason for everything that I do. So just be unique, be yourself, and hey, you think something, do it. Don't be scared to do it just because you think there might be some, it won't be perceived well by the general public. Just do what you want to do.
Beautiful, my friend. That's what I think Chris Clegg echoed a tweet about that today, too. But, if you want to get in the business, do your own thing, just like Eric described, okay?
Be
That's
unique.
how it goes. Yeah, okay. 2nd down and 9. All right, thank you so much, everybody. This has been the Palazzo Podcast, Prospects Power Half Hour. Benjamin Chase, Eric Cross, and Michael Govier. Thanks for everybody in the live chat. You guys were on fire today. That makes the show 10 times better. Everybody, enjoy your 2023. We'll be back with another edition of this next week. Toodaloo!